Hello, Shining One, and welcome to the High Vibe Eating 101 play shop for parents or mothers. Today, I won't be focusing on children. It's just about getting us eating a more high vibrational diet and then really getting to that point where we feel like we're doing amazing things for ourselves just by the food that we're eating. So if you don't know me, I'm Heidi Hosking. I am the creator of the Mother-Child Healing Approach, and I teach and guide mothers in my New Children Healing Sanctuary and also in one-on-one mentorships. So what I'm going to do today is just share my screen with you to start with. So you can see it there. This is my Healing and Thriving Diamond. You can see today we're going to look at food, but also for us to heal ourselves as mothers, and then also by doing this with our children as well on this diamond, it starts to bring up emotions, toxins, and relationships. So just by looking at high vibe eating today, we're going to start considering emotions comes into it. Why am I blocking myself from choosing to eat these great foods? Or toxins. Wow, look at the toxins I'm taking in as far as even the food that I'm eating. And not to mention relationships. So how am I going to go out there and explain this to other people and they think I've got two heads eating all this high vibe food and saying no to the low vibe stuff that's accepted as normal in society? And not to mention other things as well, like how do I afford it? How do I make it work? Organization when my family's eating other different food. So that's my diamond, that today we're going to focus on food, and stay tuned for more play shops that I'm going to be doing on these other topics, both for mother and child. So let's get on now. I really want to talk to you first about the fact that eating high vibe is not a diet, it's not restrictions, it's not anything that's done in fear. It's because we're empowered and we want to make good changes for ourselves as using food as vibrancy. So I talk about that because obviously first we can use food as medicine, and today I'm coming out and saying, look, I'm not perfect. I'm trying to get rid of pathogens / candida, viruses. We'll get into that soon. And so like my skin isn't so great, but I'm using food as a way to heal myself as far as medicine. But then once we get ourselves at quite a great balance, then we start to go, what else can I do with this? How can I get more energy as far as a mother? And we certainly can, the better food that we eat. And I think most of us deep down actually know that. But also then once we've gotten rid of the low vibe food, we start to get way more clarity. It's like the brain fog just drifts away. We've got a clear view of what's going on for ourselves, what's going on out in the world. We can see it in amazing ways, and then we want to go out and make change. We get really motivated. Oh, wow, I can see what I want to do with my life. I can see where I've been holding myself back. I can see how I need to be a better mother or what I could drop away, and it starts to shift and change us in amazing ways. So that's what I want you to take away from today, is that we don't need to feel the guilt. Sure, you can go there. I always encourage mums to go there and just feel the guilt and or the shame or the rage. I've kept on eating the worst food ever and I'm so frustrated with it. Feel those feelings, but then start to remember, hey, I'm here watching this play shop for a reason. Hey, I can choose at any point that I'm going to eat this food or I'm not going to eat this food. So as I say to some mums, if chocolate's a hard thing for you to give up, make an empowered decision. I'm going to keep eating that chocolate, which then puts that struggle to bed, and you can actually focus on, well, what other changes might be good for me to make, as opposed to, oh, I can't do any diet, I can't even say no to chocolate. And for me right now, I'm saying yes to chocolate because I can have coconut oil, raw honey, cacao on this diet, taking out the low vibe foods to get rid of any toxins within myself, but I can have that chocolate if I make it. So I'm saying empower, yes. So that's the main part to this today, is to get you moving away and going, I want to make some really great changes for myself, and I can see the benefits of doing that. Even if it's not such an easy task, I'll still have a few hurdles to get through. But in knowing that there are so many mothers out there right now, A, that have already come to this live play shop, but B, I can see them all on social media interested in this topic. So that is another thing for you to take on, to go, yeah, let's do this together. There's a tribe of us, and feel free to come into my private Facebook group, Awakened Parenting - the New Children, if you haven't yet. and share what you're doing, because it's really interesting when we've got more people around us doing the same thing. It just lifts us all up together, which is a really cool thing. So what we're going to do now is, if you have a notepad and pen, we're going to just quickly, you can do this or you don't have to, draw your page into 4 sections, so 4 columns, or even just put a cross and do 4 sections. And the first section is going to be called to go. So as we're talking, you can write down anything that comes to your mind that you want to go. And this might just be for you. You might still keep it for the family, or it might be for the whole family, your choice. And then the next one along is the ones to fade out. I'm just thinking. So you can write fade out, phase out, whatever you want. And then the next column over is to keep. And then the next column over to that is bring in. And so you can kind of see where we're going, that if anything comes up for you as we talk, you can write those down and start to have a plan and a list. You can keep that on the pantry to keep you connected with where you're going, because it's really easy. I'm sure you've all had that when you go off to the supermarket and you come home with your groceries, the stock standard, and you go, oh, I meant to have sprouts. I thought that was going to be a good thing, but it's not in my mental space right now. It's not on my shopping list, and so I forgot to get it. So the more you've got these things that you've brainstormed out there in front of you, you'll be less likely to forget it and let it drift away, and there goes another week of, not eating those foods that you wanted to. Okay, so I'm just checking in where we're at now. So the main thing is to, as we go along, keep remembering why we're doing this. Even developing your immunity, like as a mother, it is so empowering to know I'm not going to catch any of those bugs. I can actually feel the strength inside me that I'm not going to catch those bugs anymore. I'm doing really great stuff for my own health. And that has huge ripple effects when we're not grumpy and struggling to get along, tired, irritated and taking it on the rest of the family, let alone dealing with the kids sick as well. When we can actually be like, you know what, I can see you guys are sick. I can take care of you though in a really high vibe way. And it starts to have that ripple effect out to the children as well. So that's a really awesome thing to be doing. And not to mention intuition. So many more mums are looking into an intuitive parenting, and how do I get to that? For me, it's been a big journey of taking away, slowly but surely, and it's not been an overnight journey, more and more foods that just don't serve me, and learning how to intuitively know which foods don't serve me. And that's how I've started to really open up to my intuition, because my body, my physical body, doesn't have all this extra stuff coming at it. And when we don't have to use our resources to focus, our body doesn't, to be dealing with all this stuff that it just doesn't want, all of a sudden it's going, I can see clearly now, I don't have to deal with that, and it can start to pay attention to amazing things. So that's the 2 biggest things, is the intuitive eating for your intuition as well, and also developing your immunity if it's not there already, to the point where when you don't get sick, you might start to get a niggle in your throat, and you can actually tell then energetically, that's something I need to speak up about. Or you might start to get a niggle in here and you go, I'm too much in my head thinking it all through. I need to be back down in my heart. And we can actually then pay attention more to what's going on inside of us energetically, rather than just dealing with the bugs. So high vibe eating is all around energy. It's understanding that what we eat, we are. So when we take in a certain food, we become that food. And science hasn't really been there yet, but it's catching up to quantum physics, where a food carries an energy. It's been a living being at some point, and obviously the more dead and processed it is, the less energy it's got. But, as far as even animals or plants, they've been living. And so we are going to take on the energy of that animal or that plant as we eat it. And that has huge effects on us in different ways. But again, coming back to the main thing is we want energy, and we want to have clarity and motivation. And so that's where you go, well, we're going to get slowly pushed towards the foods that are going to give us that if we set that intention. So for me, I've had the open intention to the universe, show me the way as far as food. I'm open to it all. And without even really going out and making changes myself to do too much, all of a sudden different things have come in my path. Oh, okay, yeah, I can hear it all of a sudden. I need to get rid of canned goods. Oh, okay, all of a sudden, whoa, I don't feel like eating animal products. None of this has really been what I call my choice. It's literally been a awakening one day. Oh, okay, yeah, I really don't even feel like that. And it's almost like an obvious answer as to where I need to go. So the tricky part is, and this is where it comes into the emotions part, just here is when we listen to our ego self. I do this in depth in my New Children Healing Sanctuary, is where we are starting to listen to our ego self, our little monkey mind, the mental chatter going, no, just have that, chocolate, sugary thing, processed food. You feel so disgusting right now. Have it. It'll be good for you. Have it, have it, have it. And so if we start to listen to that, that's where we start to get veered off on the wrong track. And we really want to get back to what is the best food for myself and what foods actually strengthen me. So as we're going along, you can start even to write under your columns, foods to keep or foods to bring in. Those foods that you know deep down are really quite good for you, or actually you really do enjoy having it, even if it's only when you go out. Start to consider those, because they're the ones, when we start to pay attention to that, we're eating intuitively. And I kind of use the example like if you've been pregnant and had cravings, or hungover and had cravings, and there's just that food that you're just like, oh, I really love it. That's what we need to tune into just about every day. What does my body really want right now? And how can I make that happen? So that's where we can get creative in, what we buy, what we can afford, what we might make ourselves versus going out to find it. But really starting to come back to, okay, yeah, my body tells me I really would like some, that chocolate bar right now. And you might say to your monkey mind, try again. Okay, I really want something sweet right now, and it does want to be, a bit chocolatey. Okay, what if I made my own chocolate, or what if I put a bit of cacao into some, milk, almond milk, whatever, with a bit of honey? Would that suffice? And we start coming back to what's going to suffice for me, that's the highest vibe option, rather than just listening to the first thing that comes to our mind, the lowest vibe. And it's a practice. So we're never going to get this perfect and right the first time. I don't expect you to walk away and a week later you'd be on the highest vibe diet, made all the changes. Most of the time we are listening to ourselves first and going, oh yeah, I can feel myself reaching for that chocolate bar. I can feel myself reaching for that chocolate bar, but once you're aware of it, you are on the path. So just trust when you're on the path that things will start to unravel. And so you might start to go, oh yeah, I'm reaching for those chocolate bars again. I really need to go out and find some ingredients or another option. What treats could I make myself that would be a better version? And feeling really good and really empowered that you've done that, because that's the positive feedback loop. So I'm going to stop sharing the diamond. I don't think we need that anymore. Hello, everyone. And so now we're going to go along a little journey of the spectrum, I call it, of eating high vibe. And it really actually isn't a linear thing. I've tried to put it into a linear thing, and it's pretty tricky because of all the different things, and it would take me about 30 points to actually do it properly linearly. So I hope you can understand it anyway. So the first point when we eat for high vibrations is the fact that we need to eat fresh, find the freshest food we can. Because obviously if it's really fresh, it's just been closer to being alive. As far as plants, that's, the closest you can get to life force coming out of the earth, and we eat it. Imagine being in a farmer's garden and you're eating all this delightful food straight out of the garden. You can feel the high vibes from that. So imagine eating a carrot straight out of the garden. You might have washed it a bit, but that feeling of, oh, wow, this is amazing, versus eating a hot meat pie. Just sit with that for a second to see and to feel in your body the difference. And there will be slight and subtle differences, obviously between that extreme, but that's what we're aiming for, is to start to turn slowly to more higher and higher vibrational foods. So when we want to eat fresh, obviously it makes sense to eat local. That's why people talk about eat local, because it's not traveled so far. It's obviously then being closest to, coming straight out of the garden. So as much as you can start to look around. It's becoming more popular. Some people even say, it's from here, or it's traveled this many kilometers, so you can see. As soon as we're bringing it in from another country, obviously we know it could be any type of age. We don't know. And the further it's come, so say like we pick up a fruit from the USA, the more likely it's been sprayed with pesticides to keep it that way as a preservative, or the grapes with the preservative, the sulfites all over them. So again, we have to start thinking local is better, because generally it hasn't had to have been sprayed the hell out of to make it last. And then we start to go, how fresh is this food if it's traveled, you know, halfway around the world and then sit on the, say, the supermarket shelf for, you know, who knows how long. So this also, you know, goes for meat as well. If you do still eat meat, that's one thing that, yeah, you can consider as well, whereas the freshest. So the next thing is eating raw. That's obviously, again, you know, just it's a bit of truth, I suppose, that of course a food is going to carry more vibration than if it's raw versus cooked. And so you can actually see there's pictures online of food where they've taken a, I keep forgetting the word, where they can see the electrons of the food. And so the raw one or the organic one is just, you can see the energy around it just glowing, whereas the cooked ones, even steamed, it's not nearly got as much energy. So this might not be that you're about to turn raw vegan overnight, but it might be that you start to go, as you cook different foods, I would have cooked that tomato or that capsicum or, you know, anything, zucchini. I could put, you know, even just the raw capsicum on top of the dish instead, even just one food. And then you start to value it and going, yeah, okay, that's great. I'm having more raw food and seeing what it feels like for you. I will put a caveat out there though, sorry, when we're eating intuitively for our body, that we need to really pay attention to it and not listen just to what someone has said. So this goes for the big, high famous people talking about particular diets, but it also comes right down to even me, you know, saying this right now. I'm not a big, high famous person, but start to think about what goes on for your body, because there are exceptions to the rule. We're all bio-individual. No one should be eating the same food. No one. The same combination. So that means, for example, if you've been quite stressed or something, you know, you've eaten some food that's really roughened up your tummy or your guts, probably the last thing you're going to feel like is maybe some raw food, because raw does take more digesting. So that's where you might start to go, it's not for me now. I feel like, you know, cooked pumpkin or cooked zucchini, something really soothing and nice for me. And particularly in winter, obviously, we go through different seasons. You might not go so raw. So I'm just saying that so you don't feel like you need to go and eat raw everything. But in saying that, just go with your intuition. When would you go, oh, yes, stop. I actually could go and get that right now. And actually, that would be fine if I had that raw, you know, before I cook the beans, I'll eat them raw. And often we even find sometimes our children prefer everything raw. And you go, well, why would I make the meat cooked? Just because, when actually they're getting more vibrations, or high vibrations, from eating the raw type of food. So something to consider. And of course, the more we cook food, the worse it's got to get. That, you know, there'd be a spectrum as well. So when we just bake the hell out of something or fry the hell out of something, you know, it's probably going to lower and lower and lower the vibrations. A gentle heating, particularly if it's, you know, like 30 degrees, like not boiling the hell out of it, you can do that. So I did mention in my live Playshop about microwaves. Huge no. The microwaves that come out from that, they literally nuke the food, so the nutrients are just shot to pieces. So you might as well just not be eating the food. But the waves that are coming out are, you know, really, really, really dangerous and toxic, not only to us, but our children, who are so much more sensitive. Again, we really need to get those microwaves and throw them out the window straight away. And so then I suggest to parents, if you want to heat a food, you might just do a gentle heat in a saucepan and not actually go till it's at boiling point, but just warmed through. It's actually almost easier to do the gentle warming in a saucepan anyway. So something to think about. So we've got go local, go fresh, go raw if you can, or wherever you feel like it's a good idea to. Watch how you're cooking things, obviously. And then we start to go, okay, what's next? It's plants versus animals. And so plants do carry high vibrations, much more higher than the animal products. So the more animal products you eat, the lower vibration you will become. And so when we're lower vibrational, that's when we attract disease, illness, even cancer, bugs, viruses, parasites, candida, bacteria, everything. They are drawn to the low vibrations. So when you go, why would I want to, give up animal products or anything that's lower vibe? This is what we start to go, there is big benefits and rewards for going more higher vibrational if you feel called to it. So first I'm going to start off just talking about plants. Plants, again, we can take in the vibrations of them in such a great way that I was speaking about a man called Anthony William. On Facebook, he's called Medical Medium. He's becoming more well-known. And he talks about not only what foods can do for you as far as medicine and what ailments they'll heal, but also what they bring to us emotionally and what they bring to us spiritually as well. And it's really interesting. So I use the example, a potato, it's helping, the spiritual lesson is helping you to unearth yourself, your real self. So you can start to go, oh, okay, I wonder why I'm drawn to particular foods or why my children are even. Start to consider there might be a good reason. So don't cut things out just because someone said, no, you shouldn't eat potato, it's not good for you. Or no, you're having too much of that. Maybe, and it's worked amazingly well, especially, with my son, I'll get the book out and go, right, what's dates all about? And we look at the lesson and it's just clicked in so well that you go, sometimes we're eating intuitively, but it's everyone else, all the gurus telling us, no, that's not right. Oh, you shouldn't have that. You can't have that. That actually stops us from listening to our own intuition. So trust, and that's why Medical Medium has been amazing to start to understand there. Every, he talks about every plant food, especially the, what does he call it? The something for, like, basically the best for, and that's like the fruit and veggies, the wild foods and the herbs and spices. Amazing. So really start to consider what you're eating, what you're gravitating to, and could there be actually a good reason for this? Don't go throwing things out because you feel like it's not a good idea from what anyone says. I want to empower you. You have the power, we're all sovereign beings, to start to make a decision and feel really good in that and empowered, going, no, I'm actually really called to this food. There must be a reason. I'm going to trust with that. And things will shift and change. So, at some point you might be like, oh, I just can't handle raw food. But if you stay open, all of a sudden you might start to go, I actually do feel like that right now. And so then we can start to be guided by ourselves instead of needing to look outwards, or instead of being restricted around the same foods all the time, because that's another trap that we all get stuck in, is I eat the same food all the time. Okay, now I'm getting off track. So around the plant foods, again, so we go freshest if we can, and then we start to look at organic versus non-organic. So as soon as we spray anything man-made, and how it's grown as well. So organic means how it's grown, which encourages more nutrients in the plant. The organic is going to be more higher vibrational. And that's what science has missed when they keep saying, no, there's no point in paying, X amount of dollars for organic. There's nothing we can prove. There is, and especially when it comes to energy. So high vibe eating, organic is definitely better. Of course, if you can't afford it, the main thing is what gets soaked into the fruit. And that's the ones with the thin skin. So like greens, apples, berries, grapes, like those types of foods that you really want to, like I would go without eating grapes and eating a sprayed grape, because it's basically a ball of chemicals. So particularly when that they've been sprayed, right? And really they all are, unless they say organic. So or spray free, that's your next tier. If you can get spray free, then that's a really great option as well. So going for that where you can, again, do what you can affording wise, be creative, go and look at different options, whatever you can do to know that you're bringing higher vibrational food. And when you bring in that higher vibrational food and you've paid more for it, you value it more. You eat that stem of the broccoli. You don't chuck bits out. You really start to go, well, I cook the hell out of this food, or am I going to eat it raw because I've already gone organic? I might as well eat it raw and actually get in all the life force that I can. So a really interesting thing to start to see how things shift and change as you make one step, then you might start to even make another step. the main thing is just to be mindful and constantly thinking about all of this so that it stays in your vortex and it doesn't just become another rut where you're not really thinking about it. And again, of course, you might forget about it and you might end up sick, and that brings you back to, oh yeah, right, I need to make some changes again to lift my vibrations, and I can do this with food. I don't have to go to a doctor. I can do this with food. All right, so then plants, that's pretty much the plant talk. Animals, of course, if you are going to keep eating them, then grass-fed, pastured, chickens that have give you their eggs, free range, organic maybe, it does cost a lot, but that's where you want to start to get to. Because an animal eating grass, of course, is going to be more higher vibrational than an animal eating like a genetically modified corn or soy or, grain, whatever grain it is, that's been such processed food that, of course, the animal eating the freshest stuff is going to be the one that you want to go for. And then we look at energetically what's going on as well. So, of course, when they eat the grass, it's been shown they actually produce a better fat. They produce, healthier meat. But vibrationally, then we can start to look at, we are taking on the vibration when we eat that animal. So if that animal's had a super duper stressful life, and you can only imagine if you were, stuck in a cage, like caged down, sitting in your poo your whole life, there's going to be a lot of stress in that body. And so we take that on as well. We take on the vibration of the type of animal. Like I use the example, the men that just eat lots of beef and red meat, they're beefed up, versus the ladies that eat lots of and only chicken. They're kind of, almost the thinner, more chicken-like, chatty. We can take on that vibration of the animal, and that's a whole other topic in itself. But something to consider. And so then we start to think about, we take on the vibration of where the animal's been. And same with the plant. Sometimes it's a good thing, especially, if we're getting a amazing plant food from an amazing place that's got a high energy, great. But if we're taking on the energy of some, I can't think what you call them, the barns where they house all these animals, for their whole life, really low vibe stuff, that's when you go, well, that's not really the energy that I want to take on, and you start to get the idea of going, and so I don't encourage you to make a decision of, I need to give up animals. For me, it was an open door that I said to my husband once, one time I feel like we might even get to like raw vegan. This is something there. But I certainly didn't make the decision. It just kind of came on, but I was keeping my door open. So if you keep your door open and you really do want to move forward with your vibrations, and that's the way to do it, is just to keep it open. And one day the choice will just about be made for you. Something will happen and you won't even have to think twice. So you can do that the easy way, or you can just go, okay, yeah, I'll give this a go and see what happens too. So that's the animals, is going high vibe or low vibe as well with them. And then we get to, under that, of course, is any other food that's basically been so processed, it's sitting on a shelf in like a supermarket, or it's being, fried up at McDonald's or something. They're the ones, whether it's animal product or plants, that are, again, so dead of any energy. Like there's absolutely nothing to it. You'd be cleaner eating a piece of cardboard than taking on the fats and all those processed oils that literally kill our good bugs inside us. So our immunity's gone. It really dulls us down because our body's trying to deal with this. And you can see people with their eyes. That's the type of thing that you go, as soon as you say no to that, you're lifting your vibrations straight away. As soon as you're saying no to alcohol, lifting the vibrations straight away. It's amazing how much, not only the sugar content in alcohol, but also the alcohol itself can really put a lid on us. And feeling disgusting the next day, your body is dealing with stuff. It's busy dealing with your liver and your poor brain, let alone your intestines and all sorts of things, your skin. It's trying to just get it out. There's no way you're going to have as clear intuition and as greater clarity and energy and high vibe in your body because of what it's having to deal with. So it comes back to a bit of, again, the relationship with ourself, that self-love, to go, yeah, okay, I value my body so much that I'm going to stop drinking or stop eating that food that's really comforting me and look at what's going on emotionally under that. And that's where I work one-on-one with mums to really get under that, and we can work out a plan as to how we deal with that. And it's not that hard when we go, I want this to change. I'm done with it now. I'm ready. And so then we can move forward with a few extra steps of, okay, I'll do this. I need to release emotions about that. I can see very clearly why I'm doing it. I've got alternatives. I know what to say to people, and boom, we can shift the whole thing. So that's where we've kind of gotten on the scale. And then the last thing to mention, obviously, is anything that's chemicals, man-made, all those ingredients, even down to natural flavors, where if you email the company, which I have done a fair few times, they never come back and say, yes, I can say it is only from a plant-based source. You will know when it's truly natural because it might say ground up vanilla beans. And that's when you go, okay, as opposed to natural vanilla flavor, there's something there. So that's, on the sneakiest part. And I can't encourage you enough just to ignore marketing and look at that ingredient list. You look at the ingredient list, that's all you care about, and start to see, does anything resonate with you on there that sounds like it's all fairly good? And of course, there'll be exceptions where you might go, I'm cutting out this one that's really bad ingredients. I'm going for something a bit better. I can see it's not perfect, but that's excellent, making tiny shifts. And I did that as far as like a protein powder. I, even bought a really great one, but it still had the natural flavor and I wasn't really keen. And I kind of kept going because I knew I needed some protein, and I didn't have the mental resources at that point and the energy to go and scout out a different option. But B, it was not, at that point, it just wasn't a thing. But then all of a sudden someone mentioned something, and it obviously held the door open to guide me. And then I went, okay, yeah, right, I need to get rid of this protein powder. And when we're open to ideas, they come. If we don't start to do, I can't do this, see, there's no other option, or I'll have to go back to, some other terrible food. I ended up just going, I'm going to try some hemp protein, whiz it in the thermix, that's more like a powder, and just put that with some water and some tahini and some cacao and some raw honey, and whiz it, and it becomes like a magical chocolate protein drink, without even having to do things like the UHT almond milk, which again isn't so great. We don't do a lot of almond milk at home per se to actually warrant going and buying the fresh one, because you've got to use it. So it really, you can see step by step, if you change things over a year, even longer if you need to, you might go, I could do that. But when you feel like you've got to do it all now, it becomes overwhelming. And so that's where I say to mums, if you're getting overwhelmed, you're biting off too much. So back it back, work out the priority, what's the lowest hanging fruit, and go with that first, and you'll start to make headway. So keep going with your 4 columns as far as, the foods that you feel like you want to take out right now, the foods that you want to phase out slowly, or just that's the perfect place to set an intention going, you know what, universe, I do want to get rid of these foods. I can see they're not that great, but I don't really have a good answer right now. Park it and see what magic comes to you, that eventually things will shift and change. You'll get a different answer, and take it when it comes. So if you get the alternative and you see it, if you go and take that up, the universe goes, she's listening, you'll start to get more answers. But if you go, I can't really afford it, I'm not really sure, and second guess yourself, which is listening to the monkey mind, that's when things go pear-shaped, and you start to, the universe goes, not listening, and that's where things close back off again. So keep that as a cool magical trick just to try. Then you've got your foods that you'll keep, and then the foods you might want to bring in. I'm not talking today on logistics. I am offering, if anyone would like a one-on-one session with me, do go for that. I will put the booking link in the comments here in the under the video, so that you can book in if you want. We can do an hour of power together, really get it clear. My specialty is helping mums to work out step by step what's the next things I need to do, looking at all my blocks in the way. So I've got a very clear path to go, yeah, I can do that, as opposed to I'm just really not sure. Get the help, make the decision and get the help, and do it and pull it off, and you'll feel empowered, but you'll also be more high vibe, which is awesome. And so the last thing that I want to talk about is that say the day when you go, oh, I've got to eat this food and I'm not really that keen on it, you can start to lift the vibrations of the food that you're eating. And a bit of a cool trick that I learned from someone who's been tutored by a Tibetan monk is that you will put your hands over the food, you don't have to touch it, and then you start to imagine energy coming from your third eye, from your hands, and from your heart towards this food. And you sit there and you can say natural living medicine. And so you'll sit there and just practice projecting that energy while you keep in mind natural living medicine until you feel like done. So it's a bit of like a high vibe microwave. You're going to put this food there and you will get a sense when it's ready. At first, it might take you a while and you're there going, I'm trying to coordinate all three and I'm not really sure. Trust yourself that you will know. And once you go, oh, okay, great, you can do it. The better you get, you don't even have to do hands. You can just do it and mutter it to yourself, even if you're on a plane or somewhere else. You can do it for your children's food as well. And it's just an interesting thing, I feel, that we can play with some witchy magic and start to really practice lifting the vibrations of our food. The more intention we put to, I want this food to be high vibe, even when it might not be, the more our body responds to that because we're being conscious of it, we're being mindful. That's when we feel good. When we eat food and we go, oh, any type of that glitchy energy of I feel bad, I shouldn't have this, this is not right, so-and-so said I shouldn't eat this, all those things, automatically you and the food are not at one. As soon as you do it and you offer it with love, gratitude, thank you for being my great food right now to feed me. And you can even, even though it's not what I want, I'm going to offer you natural living medicine, and you take it in and you trust that your body is going to respond to it better than if you had done the fear reaction. And it's a super great thing to teach our new children who are very sensitive, and they need the highest vibrational food that they can as well. So empower them. You will see they'll run with it. And it's a guide back to you that something is of truth and right to do that when our children just take it on and actually love doing it too. So I hope you've enjoyed this play shop. Please keep going with your list. Put it somewhere visible so you can see it and keep going. And do come into the Awakened Parenting - the New Children group and let us know. You can even do a hashtag high vibe eating where you're at. I would really love to hear, and any great things, changes you've made, any great recipes, anything, because the more we inspire each other to keep doing this, the easier it is to do as a group. Even if your family members are complaining and don't love it, that's when you need to lean straight to some other women first to get that motivation to keep it going and know that you're actually in the highest truth. The highest truth is eating high vibrational food is the best thing for you. Don't listen to your monkey mind and don't listen to anyone else's monkey mind. Go and do it and make it really amazing for yourself, and you'll see what will rub off for your children just by default. And stay tuned for my other play shops that will be coming along each week on here as well. Don't forget to subscribe to me and give me a like if this is really great. That would be excellent to get this out to more people. Bye, everyone.